This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 11th of March, 2019, and I am 2J.
I am Tue.
And I am Miss K, your host. Again, in case you missed it, this is Winning Headlines. Let's take a look at today's headlines. The Standard, 1 year wait for mum ends in grief. The Star, 32 Kenyans perish in Ethiopian plane crash. And finally, Daily Nation, final moments of the ill-fated flight.
Yeah.
It's a sad day. It really is a sad day for the headlines.
Such a tragedy, and our foremost condolences to the families affected.
Yeah.
Our thoughts and our prayers really do go to you as families, and we do hope that you find some sort of peace in this time of deep sorrow. But let's go to our headlines.
Yeah.
Let's see what these headlines portend for us.
Yes.
And especially as Kenyans, I think we took the biggest death toll, and
Yeah,
I
we did.
feel
32
Yes.
individuals, yeah.
You wake up, 32 guys gone.
So I think we take all headlines
Yeah.
yes, we have to
together
address
since
them
they
all.
cover the same story.
We combine them.
We combine them. Let's talk about the three together.
And you know what, Miss K and 2J, I am not competent in matters aviation, but I have some questions to ask. All right?
Understandable.
Understandable. Everyone has questions.
You
Let's
see,
ask them.
China and Ethiopia have grounded this model of plane, the Boeing 737 MAX 800 or MAX 8, whatever they call it. All right? Then second thing happens, an accident in Indonesia in October last year, same model, and they're both new planes. All right? Third thing, a pilots union in the United States of America come out and say that there's an update in this plane that overrides human controls. Then I sit back and ask myself, is it something, or is there something completely terrible
With this plane.
with this plane?
Yeah. I think we can say from the plain facts we have right now, which are still coming to light, there's something going on with this plane.
Yeah.
Who we should give or assign that blame to at the moment, I think is a bit unclear.
Yeah.
But here's the thing I can say. Generally, whenever an airplane falls from the sky, there are three people that will take the blame.
Yeah.
Generally. And the blame will
Usually.
shift around
Yes.
in a game of musical chairs over
Yeah.
the period of the investigation
Yeah.
between the manufacturer
Yeah.
of the plane,
Yeah.
in this case Boeing,
Yes.
the airline company, in this case Ethiopian Airlines,
Yeah.
and the pilot.
Yeah.
So now, those three are the ones that are going to come out, and I think some blame is starting to be apportioned on Boeing.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen a simulation somewhere, all right? And I say, I am not a pilot, but in my little knowledge, I have seen there's an update, there's something they call MCAS,
What's
Maneuverability Characteristic Augmentation System. That's what they call it.
Okay.
All right. Now, what this system is meant to do is meant to be an anti-stalling.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So what is a stall?
So stall is when the plane is sort of taking off, it
Yeah, it's like
loses-
it's like the engine goes off and then it's,
engine goes kaput. So the plane is like this in the air and can
Okay,
easily.
so I think I'm going
Yeah,
up, but
yeah.
I'm actually falling.
You actually, the engine has completely
Gone off.
gone off.
Okay,
Right.
and
So what does
Now,
this MCAS
what
have
this
to do with
MCAS
this?
does,
Yeah, what does
apparently-
MCAS have to do with this plane
they
crash?
say it makes the plane go like this, like stabilize.
Okay, it levels out
It
the plane.
levels out
That's
the
what you're
plane.
trying to say. So
Right?
it levels out the plane.
Yes.
So what does MCAS have to do with this particular plane? Are you trying to say
Yeah.
that there was a possible stall? And stalls, by the more often than not, are they pilot error related?
I think a majority
know.
of the time,
Yeah.
if you look at what has caused a majority of crashes,
Yes.
it is human error more often than not.
Okay, so then MCAS in its creation is a good system. It's trying to remedy that error that I may
Exactly.
see in a
It's
stall.
human
I
error.
don't know. We level out the plane. We're fine. We go.
So, Tuem,
What
are you
happened?
trying to say that this new update
Yeah.
that was done by Boeing
Yeah.
is what caused this crash?
I
In
don't
your
know.
opinion, or possibly?
I wish I was an investigator, but as a layman, this is what I think. Intention was probably good with MCAS, right? But what the thing does, from what I hear,
Yes.
is it overrides the pilot. So the pilot is like a man versus machine sort of thing.
Okay.
And in the case of the Indonesian
Plane,
crash,
yes.
the thing took a nosedive.
Okay.
Right? When MCAS, it sends wrong signals to the pilot, it sends wrong signals to the
Okay,
plane
I think
that the pilot cannot interpret.
I think right now let's maybe avoid discussing the details that we can all agree we don't understand.
Okay, let me ground us in this conversation. We have a 3-part criteria that we use to break down the headlines for you and the stories that go with them.
Yeah.
We ask ourselves, is this story topical, or is it speculative? Is it repetitive, or is it groundbreaking? And is it thoughtful or just plain lazy? So when we're looking at this, I agree, we are 2 days out from the incident, therefore we are bordering on speculation.
Yes.
There are no fully fledged facts.
Absolutely.
So what then can we say about this?
I think we have a lot of questions. And one thing that I wanted to address was, who should we assign blame to? And we started to discuss this earlier. In my opinion, I think that Boeing has received a lot of flack, which is completely valid, right? I believe their stock price has gone down 9% since this accident has happened.
Understandable.
However, what culpability does Ethiopian Airlines have in this case as well?
Okay, here's the thing I have a question regarding that culpability, and that question is based on this picture. If you look at the picture on the Daily Nation, you have a picture of the crash site where you see vehicles and
no plane,
upturned ground and no plane. So I think that's indicative of when you will find that culpability on the Ethiopian Airlines. And I guess there's 2 things to say here. Well, I applaud them for looking at the rights of the victims. Because sometimes I feel like sometimes we're overpressed. And by overpressed, I mean that the press is too much in the faces of victims, and we get to expose them to so many things, and even their families, to a lot of hurt that they would not have gotten. But in this instance, we don't see, what we are seeing is there's very little evidence.
But I think, going back to some of those points that Tuem brought up earlier, I think that we're getting into this space where we might fall prey to recency bias, which is that you take a recent event, such as this plane crash, and you have a bias that you apply to all accidents that have happened thereafter, right?
Okay,
or in a recent...
Okay, I may be falling prey to recency bias, but here's the thing. A plane crashes in Indonesia, a plane crashes in Ethiopia. Different pilots,
same plane.
Different airline, same plane.
Okay.
So what is the thing that is the lowest common denominator?
And the lowest is Boeing. Yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
But you are 5 times more likely to get struck by lightning than you are to die in a plane crash.
Look,
you are 10 times more likely to die on your way to the airport than you are to die in that same plane.
Look,
I think for us to get scared and to
ground our planes.
Exactly, to ground our planes. I think that it was China, and who else have grounded their planes?
China and Ethiopia.
And Ethiopia have grounded their planes. That is 2
and
countries.
I think Cayman Islands.
2 countries out of so many that use this same plane. The Americans have said that they will not ground this plane.
Let's put it this way. You have a pilots association in America where this plane is made, right? They come out and say, this plane, there is something wrong. A couple of, days or weeks or months later, it's actually 5 months later, 2 planes crash.
But also,
of those planes that these guys expressed so much doubt over.
And Tuem, that's
are
a
you
good...
saying that there is nothing here that we cannot apportion blame to Boeing?
Tuem, that is a good point. But for us to attribute something that was said 5 months ago to something that has happened 2 days ago is unfair. And I think that is part of us unfairly putting blame on Boeing. In those 5 months, security measures have increased. So when those same Americans made those claims 5 months ago, they have also refused to ground the plane. So those are the same pilots who still have hope or still believe that this plane is suitable to fly.
Okay, here's the thing, and I can say this. Let me bring you back in. It's true that even Boeing themselves have released a statement saying that their sensors can be override the manual inputs of a pilot.
Right.
They've said that. And yes, the American pilots also stated that that override leaves them exposed also because they do not know about it. So because they can't anticipate it, they feel that they're exposed. And Boeing also said, we're willing to give you our technical staff to train you.
To train you on this,
but not by the request of your union, by the request of your government-appointed Transport and Safety Body, the National Transport and Safety Board, NTSB, in America. Now, here's the thing. the time in which it takes for an update to be spread across to all particular users, we don't know how long it takes. It could take longer than 5 months.
Yeah.
Right.
Perhaps 5 months is an allowable period. Perhaps they give themselves 1 year for them to get it.
Yeah.
So I don't know who we can apportion the blame to, but we can agree that people died and we do not have a winning headline. Not because these headlines are trivial, but because they are so emotive that
People
we
died,
cannot give them a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very true.
agree.
I just think as this story begins to unfold, we really need to be cautious of how much blame we assign to the specific actors related to the story.
I agree.
Yeah.
On that, I completely agree with you. Doesn't matter who, but I agree with what you said earlier. It's not that we don't apportion blame, but we apportion it equally.
Equally,
where
yeah.
it is due.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I don't think today there's any trashing.
Yeah,
we
really,
keep our headlines.
Yeah.
Because
Let's address
these are
the
emotive. On to
cartoons.
our next segment, the political opinions that we call cartoons in this country.
Yeah.
And just like the headlines, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break them down for you. We ask ourselves 3 questions. Are the cartoons humorous or are they dry? Are they satirical or are they pessimistic? And finally, are they effective or just plain lazy? I see you've picked up The Nation.
Picked up The Nation. No,
Let's start here.
It's the it's a kind of, and we always say this on Fifth Estate. It's a story of the Arab and the camel.
The camel, yeah.
Right. The camel telling the Arab, "Can I just put my head?
I'm cold.
In the tent. I'm feeling a bit cold." And the Arab says, "All right, just go
So
ahead."
yeah, okay, put your nose in.
Little by little, kidogo, before you know it, the hump is in.
Yeah.
Right.
And it kicks
Again,
the Arab out.
It kicks the Arab out once it's all in. But here, the guy getting out of the tent, I suspect Uhuru is in this tent. The guy who's getting out of the tent is a
Looks like-
caricature. It's in the likeness of DP Ruto,
Yeah.
right? And he has one leg out of the tent.
And half his body, by the way, his torso is also peeping
Yeah.
out, and his head, and he has like a shocked expression on his face.
And
Yes.
the camel says, have we said this? The camel
No, we
says
haven't.
on its side, it says handshake.
So it's a handshake
Yeah.
camel.
I mean, it's a different animal, but I would say the handshake has become the elephant in the room.
Oh,
right?
yes, it's
Yeah.
definitely the elephant in the room, but it's also the camel
The
kicking
camel in the tent.
the Ruto Arab out
Yes.
Yeah.
of the Jap tent.
And
No.
I would say that this is a pretty accurate
No, I like
cartoon.
it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
I think it
like it.
represents, the political state we're in right now.
I like
Is it effective?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it satirical?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it humorous?
I think it's humorous. I do think it is.
So let's put it in the parking
Parking
bay
bay.
where we look at
Absolutely.
the other cartoons that are contending against it today for winning headlines.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, I think there's an ongoing theme.
It's an ongoing
Yeah.
theme.
I mean, we're celebrating 365 days since the handshake
Since the
happened.
handshake, all right? This second one for the star is you have all political figures
In a bed.
in one bed, and I can see the likeness of Uhuru and Raila in the same pajamas.
Yes, it's a pajama party.
Yeah.
They're wearing a handshake. No, Jubilee party.
Ju-
yeah.
Jubilee
Jubilee
logos,
Who's
party.
that next to him?
Right? Next to him is a
Eating
likeness of Kalonzo. And
With
he
a wiper
has a wiper
poking
on
out of his head.
head.
And then lastly, on the corner, looking like he's about to be pushed off the bed.
Yes, and in a cover, bed cover written opposition.
The likeness of DP Ruto.
Yes,
But also, there's something above them.
Yeah, above
The
them is
actual
the
handshake.
likeness of the president and
Yeah.
the likeness of Raila
yeah.
having that handshake.
But let me ask you guys, this is the picture of now.
Yes.
But what if
Is it
Uhuru
really-
is playing games
Okay.
with these guys?
Here's the thing. Is it the picture of now? If you're saying Uhuru is playing games,
Yeah.
maybe, plausible.
Yeah.
Because here, Uhuru is sleeping with one eye open.
Open.
He's looking. He's still looking. He's
Yes.
not asleep.
Yeah.
But Raila, on the other
Raila is
hand,
sleeping pretty.
And he's foaming,
drooling.
he's drooling away. And Kalonzo, on the other hand, is so happy, but he's clutching his favorite toy.
Yeah.
His watermelon, eating it.
So what do you guys think of this cartoon?
I think it's humorous.
Yeah,
I like
it
it.
is.
It's
I like
actually
it.
quite funny.
I like
and I
it.
like the handshake up here because it
Yeah.
could be their dream
Yes.
or DP's nightmare.
Yes.
I don't know. It could be either.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I like this cartoon.
However, if you were to compare it to the one of the nation,
Yeah.
I think that this one is a bit obvious, right? I
But-
think
Yeah,
it's
they're
very
in bed
plain.
together.
Yeah, it's plain in what it's trying to tell you.
But
It
then-
tells you
However,
an
this
obvious
one-
figure of
True.
speech.
This
This-
one you have to understand the story of the camel and the Arab in order to understand
Yeah.
what the
How it will,
cartoon is
yes,
speaking to.
and how it will play out.
Yes.
I
Do you
agree.
know we have left out something?
What?
Look at Uhuru's eye, where he's looking. Look where the grinning Ruto is looking.
It's
Are they
not
looking at
grinning,
each
he's
other?
grimacing.
So that's how he always is.
Okay, I think that's a small point in a larger
No,
picture.
you see, it's goes back to my point.
Because he's keeping an eye.
They are
on
scheming.
him.
These two are scheming.
Well, it could be that they're
These
scheming.
guys have eaten watermelons. They are happy. The one is drooling. He's in his sleep, and
All right,
he's sleeping
what's in the standard
he's
today?
smiling.
Okay, let's look
We
at the
keep it.
standard.
Are we keeping it?
We keep it, but
We'll keep
I
it,
agree.
let's-
But I agree with 2J that between the Nation and the Star, I feel like this is a more thoughtful.
Yeah.
Well,
You need to understand the story of the
I don't
Arab for you to
disagree.
understand what is happening here.
I don't
This one is a
disagree.
bit obvious.
Yeah.
It's a bit obvious. So
All right, so finally the
Standard.
standard.
okay. I feel like my heart has sunk. We should have started here and then gone upward.
So we have a caricature of what I would assume is our president, with a woman next to him saying, "Come on, Mr. President, now spin the corruption wheel." And on the wheel, we have a few options that he can pick from. We have leadership failure, real fight against graft, ignore and move on, lame duck presidency, and politicized war on graft. So these are the options that are available to the president.
It's lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In fact, I believe that Prof had mentioned earlier that he thinks this is a recycled cartoon.
Oh yes, I agree. One, on that spinning wheel, the wheel of fortune that they're using to depict the options available to the president,
Yeah.
but also on the gaming nature of Uhuru's presidency. I
Right.
think we've seen that before. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
on the grand scheme of things, I say the standard.
should go
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
No.
I think
Toss
we.
it.
But I would like to mention and take us back to the headline that this is a really sad story. But
Yeah. Yeah.
for the
For the cartoon.
That's true. No,
Yeah, just
no,
keep
I
it
don't know.
on the
Out of
side.
respect today, we will not
Yeah,
trash
don't
any
trash it.
newspapers,
Yeah.
but we have trashed the cartoon.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So now, handshake versus handshake.
Yeah. I think because of
My vote goes with the Daily Nation.
Yeah, Daily Nation.
I like it more. It plays with my mind more. I feel more intellectually stimulated. This is funny. I agree.
Yes,
I
it
like
is funny,
It's
yeah.
funny. It's humorous. It's effective. It's
But it's a bit
satirical,
obvious.
But it's
Let-
obvious.
Let me tell you guys, I would also go with this, but I also want to say this. Let us not forget we are probably being swindled. And the master of the swindler is Uhuru Kenyatta. 2 years from now, something could just happen.
With his eye open,
That's what
looking
this
at
eye-
DP.
okay.
They are
Because they're
exchanging.
sleeping through the
They are
revolution.
communicating. These two, the likeness of Raila and Kalonzo, they're sleeping through the revolution. They don't know what's coming.
No, I mean, it's a valid point.
It's a valid point. It is a valid point. And well, if you look at it that way, you do have points. But we have used this
I agree.
cartoon
Let's
so
go
often.
with the nation.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm biased towards it, but this is my winning cartoon.
So we
What
have
do
a winning
say?
cartoon today.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have a winning cartoon. The
Yeah.
cartoon is from the Daily
I
Nation.
think that's a first. Is it?
I don't know if it's a first, but it's
Actually,
definitely
it
not
pro-
common.
It probably is.
It might be
You're
a first.
right.
Yeah, we
You're
seem to
right.
have we favor Gado and
Yeah.
Victor Ndula.
But
So,
this is a different one. This is
Iga.
Iga.
yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's
And there
fantastic.
you have it, Daily Nation, our winning cartoon with the Arab and the
The
camel.
camel.
This is Winning Headlines. See you tomorrow.